the Biz Gone Social podcast. We help entrepreneurs navigate how to get known, get customers, and get the edge over their competition. Here is your host, Lorraine Duncan.
And I'm so glad to be here. And my promise to you, as always, is I want to give you a little bit of verbal caffeine that's going to energize your business, energize your social media marketing, and help you stay social. After all, don't you want to be the business that everyone's talking about? I know I do. And today, as always, I'm stoked to have such wonderful guests on. But today, one of my favorite people is Andrea Pass. And she's a public relations person. But rather than me tell you about her, Andrea, first of all, welcome.
Hello, Lorraine. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I would love you to just tell me a little bit about your business, what you do, and how do you help people?
Well, when it comes to business help, Andrea Pass Public Relations is all about keeping you relevant, putting your business in the press with earned media coverage. That means you're not paying to be interviewed by a media outlet. I am working with reporters, producers, hosts, and more to get you interviewed, to have your quotes featured in the press so that you have relevant content about your business and other people are highlighting and applauding what you do. So it's a pat on the back for you and your business, your service, your product, your book, but it's not words coming from your mouth, which is advertising. It's words coming from the media, public relations to grow brand awareness and drive sales using the press to do so.
Yeah, and I love how you say, I get this asked all the time, is do you have to pay for an interview or should you pay for an interview? And that actually is my question to you is, when you're told, hey, you can come on my show or be interviewed or whatever, but you have to pay $500. What do you say to someone like that? Should they have to pay for an interview or should it be done for free?
My belief is for press to be considered truly earned media, you don't pay for that interview. There are enough media outlets in today's crazy world. True, it's a crowded media marketplace, but there are ways to secure interviews where you, the client, are not paying to be featured on that particular show. Now, the caveat to that is there are many lifestyle experts that go on TV. They're not paid for their segments, but they're featured on TV broadcasts. But they need to get paid, so they charge you to have your product going down the table as the best back-to-school item or the best Christmas Hanukkah item or the best Valentine's Day or graduation gift. So in those cases, to reach those target markets and to be included down the table, yes, it is worth spending the extra dollars to make sure your product is included in that. But as far as interviews in general, I'm not a believer in pay-to-play. I focus on earned media coverage without paying for it because in traditional public relations, I'm building trust. Press coverage builds trust. And if you're paying for it, that fits into the advertising category and not the PR category. So talk to a public relations professional before you put your hand in your pocket to pay to be included in an interview.
Yeah. And both you and I, we work with authors. You probably a little bit more than I do, but how would you say that, what is one thing, the biggest mistake as an author, because I'm sure I have a lot of authors listening to this right now too, is what would you say is the biggest mistake an author makes when they hire a public relations person, or maybe there's an expectation? I don't know. What would you say?
Well, I think the most important thing to do is you need to hire your public relations person a few months before your book is coming out. I always get clients who their book came out already, or it's coming out in 3 weeks. I can secure press coverage for you, not a problem. But if we have lead time, that's wonderful. And I totally understand that authors have limited budgets when it comes to public relations. So therefore, you want to get started right when the book is coming out, so that you're using the most of your dollars and cents. Totally understand that. But for public relations to be effective for authors, the author needs a website, Websites are very important that have your book jacket, the overview of the book, a link to buy the book, your biography, your headshot, and links to your social media. Authors also, before they start PR, have active social media pages. Journalists want to know that you are going to repost the editorial content on your social media pages to get awareness for their media outlet as well. So have active pages. Have a good headshot. You know, a good headshot is easy to come by. You need it to be done professionally, not on your cell phone. And spend the time to write a biography and have a great book jacket. So I'm ready to roll in public relations when an author has all of those elements lined up, because they'll say to me, Andrea passed public relations, can you work with me? And I say, send me that information, and I start the next day.
Wow. Yeah. You know, you said something very interesting, is already have an active social media platform. And I realize that when I speak with a lot of authors, for instance, they don't. And it makes it even harder to really get them noticed, for instance, on social media, because you have to start from the beginning, where there is actually no rhythm built. There's nothing, nobody deems your stuff relevant, actually, to even want to, like Facebook won't even show some posts because of it. So my question to you is, when you're working with an author or maybe even a business owner, I want to bring it a little wider now, is if they're not active on social media, do you suggest to them that they should be active on social media? Or do you bypass that and just go right for the press releases and kind of skip that? Or do you tell them that they should at least have some channels up? What would you?
I think that for any business that is going to embark on a public relations program, have those social media pages up and be ready to post on those pages. Because when I secure an interview in a media outlet, and then I then service that interview to the client after it appears, you want to make sure that you are posting it on your social media pages, tagging the media outlet, hashtagging specific words to draw audience, and arranging engagement. Because, listen, you're a pro in social media. You know engagement is where it's all at. And you want engagement with your audiences. So for public relations to work, the two go hand in hand. PR and social media are both extremely important for a business, a product, a service, a book, a nonprofit. So public relations should be part of the marketing mix, as should social media.
Now, I know that you don't work just with authors, but you also, work with business owners too. And probably a lot of business owners out there don't know when they should be contacting a PR person or how they should use a PR person. I've seen it done really well, a lot of examples of it done really well. But for me, I wouldn't know when I should contact for my business. For my book, yes. But for my business, I wouldn't know. So maybe you could kind of enlighten us all on that.
As far as starting public relations, start today. Whatever day today is the day to start. I was on the phone with a former client, hopefully a future client, that said to me, well, should we put this off? I said, no, start today. Your product is available. Your product is out in some retail establishments already. Let's get this going. And they don't have social media pages yet. They're working on that. I said, but at least let me start the press so that when your pages are ready, you'll have content to put up. In addition to your self-driven content, you'll have this external content to be able to put up. So the day is today for public relations. There's no bad time of the year. Some people say, oh, it's slow in the summer. No, it's not slow in the summer. We are all still living and doing and buying and breathing and engaging. Other people say, oh, it's slow. It's the holiday season. I don't know about you. I'm never slow during the holiday season because I'm wrapping up the holiday season, starting on January, New Year, New You, getting ready for Valentine's Day. And then before you know it, it's spring. So no, there's no bad time of the year to start public relations outreach. So make an appointment, contact a PR person like Andrea Pass Public Relations, and let's talk, because today's the day.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I also feel too that I was just like thinking about this is that so many people don't think what they're doing is relevant, or, you know, they don't feel like, well, what would I need a PR person for? But I was just thinking like all the things that I could use a PR person for, just as you were actually talking about it. And I think of a great example that has nothing to do really with a business, and it doesn't really have to do with an author, but it has to do with someone saving someone's life. And it was a young lifeguard actually who saved somebody's life in June in my local area. And what was really cool is that she got so much press. So everybody knew about it. And the bottom line is this, if you didn't know about it, you heard about it. So that's how much the buzz was going. And it was because it was shared on Facebook, and because it was shared by the high school that she went to, because it was shared. You couldn't miss it. And I think that's how PR really works, is just really another way of, you know, amplifying you, getting your name out there in a big way. And I'm a big believer in PR.
And what's important, thank you so much for that, because what's important is a lot of press coverage, a lot of public relations is evergreen. So even though something might have happened yesterday or months ago, if it's a relevant topic, it's evergreen, it's not dated. So repost those interviews and those quotes and those product reviews in 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, because the average reader isn't looking at the copyright date, the date it was published, or the date, the podcast came out. They're looking for the content. So remember that the content you get is content you can use over and over again. I was talking to a client of mine that I had last year, an author who had a nonfiction book. And I touched base with him periodically. We had this great campaign. Then I said to him, reuse the press. It doesn't matter that review is a year old or 6 months old. Reuse it, because it's new content to the person who's going to open it up and read it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. Not only are you the chief operator and that you do all the work for your clients, you also are the chief marketing officer of your company, Andrea Puss, public relations. And literally, you probably do it all. And tell me a little bit about, do you like being in business for yourself? Tell me about some of the challenges, some of the things that you really love, some of the things that maybe you don't like so much.
It's so funny because years and years and years ago, so many of my clients said, Andrea, why aren't you in business for yourself? Why are you working for someone else? Because someone else's name was on the door for such a long time. And I wasn't ready. And then about 3 years ago or so, it was the right time to start my own PR consultancy. And it's me, myself, and I as a solopreneur. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I look back on the company I was at recently before I started my own company, and I was working with individuals who didn't get anything done. I would secure a press interview. I'd say, let me know if your client could do the interview, Tuesday or Thursday at 4 p.m. Crickets. Then I would lose interviews. And I said, you know what? I need to do this on my own because I need to be responsible. And the buck stops here. My clients are hiring me and I'm getting the job done. And I'm setting those expectations based on what I am learning when I'm out there pitching a story. So I love being an entrepreneur. I really didn't know how it would go, but I had my first client within a few days because so many people know me for years and years and years. And even to this day, folks from years ago come out of the woodwork and suddenly refer me to someone else or want to hire me for a project or for a few months. And it's wonderful. What I love about being a public relations consultant is that I can say no. If there's a client that just doesn't jive, it's not going to work well, we're not going to be a good fit, I could say, you know what, I don't think we can work together. Or if someone is totally lowballing me and trying to get my services for practically nothing, I work very hard. I've been in this business for 30 some odd years. You're not hiring a newbie. You're hiring someone who knows what they're doing and secures press coverage. So I don't have to take those conversations or take those retainers that really will be more trouble than they're worth because I'm going to be spending too many hours. So I really love all the new people that I've met over the years and the clients that I've had over the years and the referrals that people give me. That's the great part. The part that I'm not really good at is at the beginning, I had about a 7-page letter of agreement. And it actually caused me to lose a client because they didn't like the long letter of agreement. And they wouldn't agree to things. And I realized, okay, there's too much legal ease in here. So you learn from your own mistakes. So my one mistake was getting a letter of agreement, a contract that was going to be fine-tuned, cover me, cover them, let's sign this and move on. And the other thing I really learned starting my business is I am paid at the beginning of the month and not at the end of the month. I unfortunately had agreed to that with a few clients at the very beginning, didn't get paid. The time went on, I'm still working, didn't get paid. So another lesson learned. When you're an entrepreneur, you learn your lessons. So now my business is very well organized. It runs very smoothly. And I'm working with fascinating clients and something new is around the corner every single day. So I love being an entrepreneur and running Andrea Pass Public Relations.
Yeah. And, you've shared with me some of the work that you're doing. And you keep it interesting, that's for sure. And one of the things you mentioned, and I want to bring this out a little bit more because there's a lot of people listening that are either going to start their own business, they've just started their own business, or they're really in it for the long haul and have been in it for the long haul. But the big thing is you said you learned how to say no to a client. And here's the thing is if you end up working with a client that isn't a good fit for you, what's going to end up happening, you're taking time to work on that client and you're miserable the whole time. And then you actually pass up on something that would have been better and a good fit for you. So I think it's really important. I love that you said that. I love that you said that you know when to say no. Another thing that you brought up is, yes, we do make tons of mistakes. And that was probably just one of many mistakes that you learn from your mistakes, and it's okay. It's totally okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. And I think being willing to admit that is what caused probably major growth in your company. So I really appreciate that you said those two things. What would you say? You and I live in very interesting times right now. And what was maybe the one little pivot or change you made when we all were told that we had a quarantine and we couldn't go out and network in person anymore? What would you say was the biggest pivot you made that probably helped your business the most during these times?
Well, I think that Zoom has been a lifesaver for so many of us because you and I met on Zoom and have established this relationship for a long time now because of Zoom. And I think that networking on Zoom has been wonderful. I've met people from all over the world on Zoom and have clients all over because of relationships I've made on Zoom. And I have people to refer people to all across the country because of Zoom. And so I think for me, my business, the public relations business, changed because I happen to be a telephone person. I love talking to people, and people were not in an office. So all the databases I subscribed to for my public relations clients turned into a lot of emailing or sending messages on social media or what have you in order to get the story to happen. And I think the other change and zig and zag was understanding that my clients don't all have news items. And because there was so much breaking news, and every day there's so much breaking news, whether it's a hurricane or a fire or a political something or something international or the pandemic, there's so much breaking news. To research and uncover press opportunities that are at other media outlets. The growth of podcasts has been phenomenal. And I have my clients featured on podcasts all the time. And I think that understanding and growing my business that way has been a benefit to me as a business person, but really to my clients. So the changes have been good changes, and quite honestly, saving a lot of time and money from getting in the car and driving an hour to meet someone for a 1 hour meeting and then getting stuck in traffic on the way back to your office after another hour and a half. So I don't miss driving, and I don't miss all the time, and I don't miss the expense of going to all of these meals everywhere and overeating. So I'm really happy with those changes in the business world.
Yeah, and you're a perfect example of someone who can work at home and very productively. So, kudos to you for that.
And to you as well.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's a challenge. I'm lucky that I am an empty nester and I don't have kids running in and out of the house anymore, but it would have been definitely challenging if that was going on.
Yeah, and I see that. I am an empty nester as well. So I certainly see the benefits. I mean, I've had a home office for many, many years because prior to starting my own business, I worked with a California-based public relations firm, and I happen to be located on the East Coast. So I always had a home office, which is great. What's also beneficial to having a home office and running your own business is if you set your own schedule. So whether it's a doctor's appointment that you need to go to, or if you want to have lunch with a family member or a friend, you could put it into your schedule and you're doing that. And I always make time in my schedule each week, not only for networking meetings, but to attend a webinar or two to learn something new. Because I think as business people, we have to stay relevant and learn something new, because that's going to grow ourselves, our businesses, and help our clients.
Yeah, it's funny. You actually just answered my next question, because I was going to ask you, how you do continue to learn in order to stay on top of things in your profession. And just hearing you say that, every person that is a successful entrepreneur is always growing and always learning new things. And you just stated it right in the last question you answered. So
yeah, and it's interesting because I know a person from one of my networking groups who has answered, I've been doing sales for 30 years and I know the answer for sales. And I watch the emails that he sends out. They're stale, they're outdated, they're not with current times. So because you did something 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago, it doesn't mean you can do it the same way today. And I think that I don't know how successful his business is. I don't know how many clients he has, but I'd be surprised if he's successful. And I think that you have to constantly learn and change and zig and zag. I mean, I was zigging and zagging before the word pivot came into popularity.
And me, and my pet peeve is pivot. Everybody was using the word. And so it was like, what? As I think over, just how we created our own businesses, and we sort of made the life we want it to be. We made the business we want it to be. We have certain criteria and terms that we live by. And there's a dark side to being in business by yourself. And I'm just curious, because I think a lot of people are always curious, especially if they're thinking of, doing their own business, is, what keeps you up at night? Is there something, that keeps you up at night? Or do you can sleep soundly every night and not have any worries at all? And, I'm just curious,
Yeah, no, I very rarely sleep all night. I don't know if it's my age or because I'm a type A personality, always thinking of something. And so I'll think about, I wanted to do that today and I didn't do that today. I'll have to do that tomorrow. Or, I better remember to make this appointment. Or, I wanted to ask so-and-so, such and such. So the stuff that keeps me up at night, it's not really important stuff. It's the little intricacies of things that I might have just forgotten, because I don't forget anything major. But I have so much in my head and so many ideas and so many things that I want to do. So that's really what keeps me up at night, as opposed to something really urgent or business oriented, and I worry about my family and I worry about my friends and I worry about the world, but I also make sure that there's happiness in this crazy time. So that's whether my husband and I are going for a nice long walk, or we're having friends over on our deck for a barbecue, or we're spending time with family. That, to me, going down to the Jersey Shore and hanging out on the beach, you have to make time for you in your business life and in your personal life.
Right. I think you hit it. It is so important to make time for yourself and making sure that you don't burn out. Because I remember when I first started my business, I was just like working 24/7. And it was like, I just had to stop. I had to take some time off. And, I advise everybody to do that. So a lot of people that are listening, of course, are definitely business owners. They're struggling. Some people are struggling. Some people have a thriving business. Some people are just thinking of starting out. What is one universal piece of advice that you could give that would help them move a little bit forward in their business today?
Wow. Live your dream. The piece of advice is don't wait. You want to do something, do it today. Start today. Whatever steps you need to take them to get started. If that's coming up with a name, starting to design a website, registering your LLC, making sure you have business insurance, whatever it is, start today. Don't put it off. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow, but once you start today, then you can get on that slow jog to be able to compete in that marathon and start your business. So my advice is get going today.
I love it. Live your dream.
Live your dream.
And I am, and you are too. And that's exciting. So I want to just thank you very much for being a part of my podcast. And just, there's probably someone out there that wants to learn more about you or may be thinking of that they need a PR person. So can you give, just a little bit of, some information about how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Lorraine, it was a pleasure to speak with you today. So thank you for having me. And I invite your audience for a complimentary consultation. If you go to AndreaPassPR.com, there's an appointments tab. Please schedule an appointment with me for a half an hour to talk a little bit about public relations. I'm on LinkedIn, Andrea Pass. I'm on Facebook, Andrea Pass Public Relations, as well as all the other social platforms. But let's schedule a time to talk, but have your business has to be set already. Your business can't be starting 6 months from now. So a book could be in advance, a product could be in advance, but if it's a business and a service, have those things, have your website and social ready, and then let's talk about how I can help you through Andrea Pass Public Relations. So thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. So generous of you. And I just want to thank everyone listening today. And if you have any questions or if you didn't quite get, what Andrea said, I'll put all her links below in the post. And also, if you have any questions about social media, feel free to reach out to me at Lorraine@BizGoneSocial. And until next week, I'll see you soon. Have a good day.
Thanks for listening to the Biz Gone Social podcast. Find us on Instagram at Biz Gone Social for extra tips. Check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, stay social.